Welcome to Lend a Voice with the Oracle.
Today, let's talk about mental education. Mental education. What is mental education? What is education in itself, right? The kind of education we've had over the years is the education that trains us to be professionals. I can go to the university to learn to be a banker. I can learn to be an engineer. I could learn to be a medical doctor. I could learn to be a media practitioner. So many things. And of course, we learn very well. Nigerians are very handy, we're very hardworking, we're very brilliant, so we can become astute professionals in any of the fields. But then there is a problem. We are not taught to think. And when you see the country, you know that Nigerians are not trained. They are not, we, not they now. We are not raised to think and think critically. Why so? How so? Let me say this. No nation rises above the quality of its education. No nation rises above the quality of its thinking. No nation rises above the quality of its minds. What are the minds of Nigerians? What kind of thought process, thinking pattern, mentality does the education in Nigeria give to a Nigerian child? That is a big thing that is lacking in our education. I am a teacher and I am in the system, and I can tell you for a fact, in our classrooms, we have been made to raise children to be exam passers. In fact, way back from secondary school, we started seeing things like key points in mathematics, key point in biology, key points in government. But over time, examinations and tests have become what everybody is on about once the school resumes, once the school starts. It's about how to pass exams, what to do, up to the extent that when you are teaching children certain topics, you hear them asking you, will this topic come out in the exam? Now, this is a topic for another day. That's not what I'm about here. Will this thing be in the exam? So, if it will not be in the exam, what they do is to close their minds. They don't want to hear something that will not be in the exam. So, over time, it's just about how to pass exams, key points. But that's by the way. So, because we are so focused on academic expertise, our children have been denied the opportunity to learn how to think. What are the conversations that happen in classrooms? Sometimes, even though some of us who are conscious of this, sometimes even when you want to engage the children in certain thought-provoking things, you find that you don't even have the time because the curriculum is so large, the time is so short, and sometimes children even want to do terminal exams a class before. So everybody's rushing towards the end, the terminal. We want to finish. If I go to primary school, by primary 5, I'm off. If I go to secondary school, some people at SS2, they're off. And you just want to go to the next level. So at the end of the day, you're done with primary, you're done with secondary, you're in the tertiary, you're done with it. The next thing you get a master's. Why? You are chasing something. Our education has not slowed down for us to understand the reason for getting this education. Why are we being educated? What is mental education? It is an education that teaches you to use your mind. It is an education that teaches you on thinking about the solutions of your community. Mental education teaches you identity. What is your identity as an individual? What is your identity as a collective? We don't think about this. Let me give you an example of what happened in Rwanda. Everybody knows about the problem that Rwanda faced in the early 90s and how the Kagame government changed all that. But listen, Kagame and his ilk did not just start governing on the surface. Okay, stop quarreling, let's build our nation. There was something that that country, that their education system did to their children. The adults were gone. Those who were adults, some of them had fought, some of them, many of, all of them rather, witnessed the mayhem, witnessed the violence, witnessed everything. But there was a conscious effort by the Rwandan government to work on the minds of their young people. That is mental education, not just training them to be doctors or lawyers. They ensured that they learned to be citizens. That is what mental education does for you. Beyond skilling or unskilling you for something to be a professional, mental education makes you know where you are, who you are, and how to tackle the challenges of your immediate environment and beyond. How to think about things, how to use your mind. That is what mental education does for you. We are not really doing that. You can check, for instance, Hutus, Tutsis, they intentionally remove those words from their children. As at the late 90s, those words were no longer there. So the children who grew up after that problem, if you go to Rwanda now and ask a Rwandan if he or she is Tutsi or Hutu, he or she will tell you that he or she is Rwandan. That was conscious, that was intentional. So because they made it as a point of something they must achieve, so that because this division was a problem, this division had brought their country to a halt, for them to move forward. The education system in Nigeria must consciously start rearranging itself in such a way that when we send our children to school, they should start learning how to think. I mean, mental education is not just about what you know, it's about how the mind works. How the mind works. Mental education makes you to question things. Mental education makes you to analyze things. Mental education allows you to connect ideas. I am an English teacher, and so when I train students on writing essays, when we need to, or sometimes when we're brainstorming on ideas, you find the hard struggle that young people have to come up with ideas, connect ideas. When you bring this and bring that, sometimes they get confused. I mean, people who are in their 14, 15, 16, 17 years old or age, that is a problem. Why is it a problem? Because we are rather teaching them to rote learn. We rather teach them to remember things. We rather teach them to follow procedures. And then we don't work on their mind. But what we don't know is that why we are not working on their mind, why we are not giving our children the direction for them to think, we are not giving them a pattern for them to think so that they think homeward, they think how to solve our immediate problems as they grow up. What we do not know is that we're leaving their minds empty to be taught by whatever else they see. So you find a young Nigerian, 14, 15-year-old, is already pro something else. Is already thinking pro this, pro that, anti this, anti that, but anything else but home. Anything else but our problems. Anything. They are very versed in things happening in America. They're very versed in that. They're very versed in that. But when it comes to identity, who we are as a people, our history, our lessons from past, whatever, they are lacking because we're not making them think. Maybe you can ask me, why am I sure that Nigerians are not mentally educated? How do I know? I'll tell you. One of the ways you will know people who are not mentally educated is that one, they probably believe everything they hear, everything they see. I am active on the social media, so I can tell you for a fact that we almost believe everything everything people share. We believe everything. We don't even critically engage materials or information. Oh, this person has said. That is why every form of campaign that comes up in this country, it spreads like wildfire. Before we even critically analyze to say, oh, this, before we start debunking, people have brought down buildings somewhere. Why? There is no patience to engage. There is no mindset of engagement. It's all about, oh, that is it. Oh, this is it. Oh, this is so. We believe everything or anything that we see. Why? We lack the patience of critically engaging information. That is how you know people that are not mentally educated. What else? Nigerians are very loud and opinionated. But unfortunately, this loudness of opinion is usually vague and empty. The opinions that we have can be so strong. We can be so emotional about something. We can say anything. We can feel, express ourselves how we feel about something. But when you actually look at that thing, when you objectively analyze what somebody is saying with all zest and energy and emotion, he's saying nothing. So we are loud, but peripheral. We are loud, but vague. We are loud, but nowhere. Do you know what we do? A Nigerian mind, when you bring a serious information to most of us Nigerians, rather than engage this with an objective mindset, a mindset of how would a Chinese look at this? How would, I'm not talking about contextual situations, I mean things that are of global concerns, things that are the same everywhere. For instance, we have a problem of insecurity. If this problem of insecurity was happening in China, what would the Chinese do? If it were happening in the UK, what would the UK people do? If it were happening in the US, how would they do it? Like, how would human beings attack a problem like this? When we are engaged in these problems, what we would do usually is to wear the lenses of religion. What we do is to wear the lenses of political parties. What we would do is wear the lenses of ethnic groups. These are the three places from which we engage issues. And that is a problem. We have bad roads. So when somebody complains about bad roads, you hear fellow Nigerians, rather than critically analyze why we have bad roads and why we should or how we should not have bad roads, you hear people engaging this information from a form of hatred, from a form of attack, because the person complaining about the bad road is anti-government, is anti this group, is anti. We just have enmeshed ourselves in group mentality, herd mentality. This is what my side think. This is how my side see it. Rather than remove these things from our eyes and engage a problem as a human problem, we lack that ability to engage our problems as human problems. We rather want to see it as a religious problem. We rather want to see it as an ethnic problem or a political problem. That is an evidence that we are not very mentally aware. We are not very mentally trained. How else do you know that Nigerians are not very mentally educated? Let me give you this. I've been doing it. Try it. Look at somebody who has, you went to, say, person A, person B. You both went to the secondary school, and then after secondary school, person A continued university 5 years or four, masters. Let me stop with masters. So somebody went through higher advanced education for 7 or 8 years. And then you have another person who stopped at secondary school and started probably doing business or engaging in one trade or the other. And now you notice that when there is a problem where these two minds come together, try to find the difference of reasoning between these two minds. I can tell you for a fact, the difference is not very much. The gap between an educated person's mindset and the mindset of an uneducated Nigerian is not much, unfortunately. I can tell you for a fact. The difference is not much. And that, my dear, is a big challenge to our citizenship. Why so? Having invested 7, 8 years of your life in advanced, do you know what we call advanced? Not just education, but advanced. Advanced in the sense that you read other people's minds. You've been exposed to problems, challenges, solutions, ideologies, philosophies of people all over the world. Your mind should shift from what it was to something else. But hello, when we have a challenge, when we are engaging information, you still see this person who has gone through even 10 years of advanced education, still analyzing, still interpreting, still dealing with information like the person who hadn't gone to school. And it is very disappointing. Sometimes when you see people post things on the social media, you see some people talk on the TV, some people talk on the radio, you want to go crazy. What is going on here? The value of education in Nigeria keeps reducing every other day. Why? Those who are educated have failed education for whatever it is. They have failed in being symbols of the educated mind. So the Nigerian system must strive to give its children a mind shift. Because in this country, we do not need educated people, so to say. It is not about literacy percentage. What we need are thinkers. Every nation in this world rose because people thought. Every nation that we aspire to become, the places we are fasting and praying for visa approval to go there and work and make money, those places became what they are today because people thought. It was not because people went to school to become professionals. Nigerians can be very good professionals. Oh, come on. We know that. And when I'm talking about things, I'm not talking about the professional. Because you can't say after 8 years of being trained as a banker, I will say the same thing with a non-banker. No, 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 no. That's not the case. Because a banker knows his onions. But then that same banker, if you ask him, if you unravel him, if you remove the banking, he is as ordinary as every other person. That is a major problem in this country. And until we have this mind shift, I don't know how we're going to move on from here. Because have you seen how we discuss? Have you seen when we make arguments? Have you seen when we're looking at things that concern our daily lives and livelihood? You find people giving you reasons why something wrong should continue. You see Nigerians telling you why something wrong is not wrong, something that is objectively wrong. You see people telling you, stressing their minds or brains, racking them to bring up reasons why something that is bad, even to a child, is not bad. That, my dear people, is a major challenge of poor mental education in this country. And you go on social media, especially during the election periods, you see hollow echo chambers everywhere. Everywhere. This is what we want to do. No more thoughts. Nobody cares about the consequences. Nobody even pauses to think about what they're doing. But it's just, this is what we want. This is what they said is right. This is what I heard is right. This is what this person told me is right. So you shun every other thing. You close your mind to analysis. You close your mind to veracity. You close your mind to truth. You close your mind to analysis. All you want to do is, this is what they say we should do. This is what they say we should share. We know what is going on. You go to X, you see one particular post being posted by 5 different people. No editing. What does that tell you? The education we have so far only makes us to be academically responsible. Now, let me also ask this. How do you know somebody who is mentally educated? A mind that is educated, I'm not talking about a person. Please, as I'm saying all of this, try to understand the differences. A person going through education becomes educated. But the mind is what I'm after now. How do you know a mind that is educated. One, it is difficult to control because control comes from the mind, first of all. While people can be loyal, that's different. People can be intentionally loyal. People can be intentionally subservient, for one reason or the other. But when people are subservient and loyal without even thinking at all, when people are just like that, when everything is yes sir, yes ma, every other time, and you see that almost everywhere. You go to offices, you go to institutions, everywhere you go to, you find people who are, everybody is a big mommy, so long as you're in a bigger office. In fact, you go to Nigerian public offices, you find that they're calling people papa, calling people mama, calling people mommy. Like, this is an organization, you know. So minds that are educated, that are very, when a mind is trained, when a mind is educated, when a mind is normally opened to thoughts and philosophies and understanding, you can't just tell that mind what to do because it will analyze. You can't manipulate it anyhow because it will analyze things. When a mind is educated, it it analyzes before taking decisions. So it becomes not so easy for you to control it. That is one thing that is evidence of a educated mind. When a mind is educated, you can't just manipulate it. Now, can you see the effect of this in our nation? People talk about how we've always had bad leaders, and they say, oh, the reason is because the leaders come from us. All of us are bad. There is no nation in this world that is inherently good, or vice versa. People are good everywhere. People are bad everywhere. But why do we always have people like this? Is because over time, politicians all over the world, one thing that they master is how to control people. But you have it easier in a place where the populace is not even mentally aware, not even mentally educated. So you can easily trump up any campaign, trump up any slogan, hide behind ethnic groups, hide behind religion, and you're controlling, you're manipulating. You know that you're not even very religious yourself, but you're using it as a card because that's what people hang on to. An educated mind would not let you do that to it. That is one difference. Another thing is that an educated mind cannot just be average. You can't be average. Sometimes when you hear people talk about solutions to problems, you wonder what is going on in this person's head. We're so average in our thought processes. We're so average in our everyday lives, up to the extent that when Nigerians see a little thing that looks like quality, it looks as if that's, oh, what a big deal. Why so? We are not used to the quality. We have been trained to use the mediocre. We have been pushed down into mediocrity. But only an educated mind can tell that this thing is average and would want something different. So such people are usually uncomfortable with average or with the average. Such people are really usually uncomfortable around the mediocre. Why so? Their minds have been trained, so they know what to look forward to. They know what is quality, and that is what they are expecting. So when you don't give them that, they are not comfortable. These are the kind of people that Nigerians will call I too know. When you complain about the average, when you complain about the mediocre, they tell you, now only you, sabi sabi, over sabi, ITK. Why? This person is expecting to be treated as a citizen. So I will ask you, listening to me now, do you think yourself educated? Or you were just trained to be what you are now? Or you're just being trained to become what you intend to be? Is your mind having a shift? If you are currently an undergraduate, is your mind shifting? If you compare yourself, those of you who are master's degree holders, it is not about what I knew as a secondary school graduate and what I now know as a master's graduate. There is, of course, a difference in the quantity of what you know, in this level of skills you have. Definitely. Because if not, you're just wasting your time. That apart, your mind, besides, again, the maturity that comes with age, because whether I'm educated or not, the way I was thinking at 17 can't be how I'm thinking at 30 or 25. Definitely, there is the part that comes with age. But we're talking about the fact that you went to an institution where you read books, where some nights you never slept, you were reading things. What exactly were you reading? Now that you are done reading, how have all those things now changed the way you see life? One big challenge that we have in this country is that of bigotry, is that of divisiveness. Even though we're not truly divided, there is a facade of it. So I am Yoruba, I see myself as that. So I'm a Yoruba Christian. This person is a Hausa Muslim. This person is an Igbo Christian. Those are the identities that we have. And we've not been able to grow above that, even though, and that is the sad part, even though a non-educated person, an illiterate man, can see himself as a Yoruba Christian, somebody who is a PhD holder is still identifying himself as a Yoruba Christian. That is a problem. Because after having gone through all of these years of reading and researching and finding things and knowing things, my mind should grow above Yoruba Christendom. My mind should grow above Igbo Muslim or Hausa, whatever. At this level, my mind should transcend these little identities. Now, somebody is going to get offended that I said little identities. They are little identities until we are no longer together as a people. But as long as we are together, the identity that we have, when I have a passport, what I show is Nigeria. So if we are not able to transcend the level of this is where I am from, then there is a disappointment. We have failed education for whatever it is. That's the problem. So if your mindset does not shift from these things that would make you hate another human being just because of where this person is from, we are not mentally educated. That is a big challenge. So we need to transcend. We need to know more. We need to know better. That's the call. We need to learn to know better. We need to be different. So what is now the difference between you and somebody that hasn't gone through this process? Your mind is the same, apart from the skills you have as a medical doctor. Your mind is the same, apart from the skills you have as a teacher. Your mind is the same, apart from the skills you have as a lawyer. If there is no mind shift, there is a problem. I'll repeat what I said earlier. No nation rises above the level of its thinking. And if we are not able to begin to change the mindset of our children, they will come up and take our places as adults and continue from where we stopped. There must be a conscious effort. There must be a united front. However, we're going to do that, dash, dash, dash. I said that in the course of this series, we'll be talking about the solutions, and I will talk about that. It's a very simple thing to do. Governance and systems. I mean, some of us have businesses and we run them perfectly well. We have large organizations and they are run perfectly well. Why is it that when it comes to public things, they are not run well? It is the mindset of not wanting to run them that makes them like that, not difficulty. Because we have the human resources, we have money, we have everything to make things work. Why are they not working? The willingness is not there. So we talk about how difficult it is. That is not the question. It is the readiness, the willingness, and knowing the why of things. So, my dear people, when you do not use of course, we say this every time, even in Pidgin, if you don't use your head, another person will use them for you. That is a big fact. When you raise your children and raise them in such a way that they are not able to use their minds to think, prefer solutions to their immediate problems, those problems will remain there. Other countries will come and employ us to solve their own problems. So we go over there and become robots for them. Why? We are not thinking. We have been soaked inside the pool of troubles. The only thing that can bring us out of that trouble is when we decide to look around us and change things by ourselves. But until we start thinking these things, the pool will get larger and bigger and deeper. If you don't think, somebody else will think for you. And for years and decades, we have remained victims of thoughtlessness. We have remained victims of illogicality. We have remained victims of not thinking. When are we going to come out and emerge from this and become truly individually and collectively independent? This is a problem of our education, and we need to fix that and fast. Thank you very much.